Hey, what's up, family, and welcome back to the Victory U podcast, where we live at the crossroads of faith, reason, and culture. Listen, today we are talking about something that we all face, whether it's in our homes, whether it's in our workplaces, our relationships, or even inside the church. We're talking about engaging with entitled culture. You know, the folks who believe that the whole world owes them something, the people that demand benefits without responsibility and use manipulation or guilt to get their way. But I've got some good news for you. You can engage with entitled people without losing your peace, your boundaries, or your identity. So let's get ready to talk about it.
With faith, reason, and culture collide. Dr. David on the mic, bringing truth with a vibe. Healing in the beat, wisdom in the glow. At the crossroads where your mind breaks through.
This is Victory U.
Tune in, level up, let your spirit renew.
Welcome to the Victory U podcast, where the culture meets truth.
Let's go.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to the Victory U podcast. As you can see on your screen, just wanted to let you all know that coming up next month on the 27th, we are releasing our first book, Cultural Apologetics, Living at the Crossroads of Faith, Reason, and Culture. Can't wait to get that into your hands or through the digital means on December 27th, which also happens to be my birthday. So look out for it, y'all. It's coming soon. Now, let's go ahead and hop into today's episode. Now, the first thing that I want to do going into today's episode is talk about, what entitlement actually is, right? We want to understand entitlement. And the first thing that I want you to know is that entitlement is a mindset. It's not a personality type, right? Entitlement is a mindset. It is something that can be cultivated. And typically, this type of mindset forms when, people have been overly catered to, when they haven't been taught limits. People confuse love with enablement. The type of people who feel like your love is conditioned upon them getting everything that they want from you. And these people learn to use pressure, guilt, or intensity to control outcomes. Basically, what you and I need to understand is that entitled people tend to be highly manipulative and can be very skilled at being manipulative. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming in. John A. Is that Michelle? Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you hopping in. Understand this. I want to give you a couple of phrases that people who are entitled, things that they would say to you, right? Well, let me rephrase that. They might not necessarily say it, but their behavioral patterns will produce things like this. So, for an example, they will treat you in such a way in which their behavior suggests that they deserve access to you without accountability, right? Access without accountability. They want to be invited into your world on their terms. And typically these individuals feel as if their needs should always be prioritized. And oftentimes they will play on your guilt for getting what they need from you, right? This is where, for those of us that tend to wear our emotions on our sleeves, to be giving and loving individuals, you have to be careful, because these types of individuals will make you feel guilty for you taking care of you, as if you taking care of you is an affront to them. That's entitlement. Another thing that entitled people absolutely do not like is boundaries, right? As a matter of fact, not only do they not like boundaries, what's up, Amaya, but your boundaries will offend them. Thank you, Renita. I appreciate you. Appreciate the gift. Your boundaries will offend them, right? So understand this. Entitled people live from a place of lack, not abundance. So for an example, one of the things that entitled people do not like to hear from you is the word no. They, from their perception or perspective, remember, entitlement is a mindset. It's not a personality type. It's completely a mindset. You can choose to change the way you think. Typically, people with this type of mentality will say things like, if you say no, or will live like this rather, if you tell them no, they feel like your no is taking something from them. Thank you, Renita. 100%. I love using no as a full and complete sentence. Listen, as a ELA teacher, I 100% co-sign that message. The word no is a complete sentence. And listen, for those of you who feel guilty saying the word no, listen, I'm not telling you to be mean and hateful and spiteful, but listen, I want you to lose the guilt association that you have with the word no. Some people have a guilt association with the word no. You don't have to feel guilty. And on that note, let me also add this. Stop feeling like you have to justify your no to people, right? You do not have to justify the reason why your answer is no, right? If somebody asks you to do something for them and you are laying on the couch resting, you do not have to justify your use of your time as to why you're not giving them a yes. Listen, I want you to heal the mindset, absolutely, or be sorry. You don't have to be you don't have to justify. You don't have to be sorry. I want you to heal the mindset that you have to justify the use of your time, because guess what? Your rest and recovery is also important. What's up, Aaron? How's it going? All right. So they also feel entitled people, right? We're talking about engaging with entitled culture. We live in a very entitled culture, believe it or not. They also feel that if they're not being catered to, that they are being disrespected, right? If you are not doing everything I want, then, you're disrespecting me. Aaron, keep pushing. I know my heart's hard, but you keep pushing. You got it. I'm believing you. Right? Another thing, they feel like if they don't get their way, something is wrong with you. But there's something that you have to understand with an entitled mindset. The first thing is that an entitled mindset is rooted in insecurity. It is rooted in immaturity, and it's often presented because of a lack of healed wounds. And many times, and this is where we have to be careful. And I want you to listen to me carefully, because I'm being completely sensitive to where people are. But I need you to understand that oftentimes when you understand someone's past and what they've gone through, you have to be careful that if they have not healed from the past, they'll make you pay for their past. And sometimes you will feel responsible for helping somebody who is refusing to heal from their past wounds, even though their past wounds are causing you present wounds. You cannot wound yourself trying to help somebody heal from their past. Is this why I was mom to my mother? You know what? That is a powerful question. That is a powerful question because there are many children who do live in that reality. As a matter of fact, child-parental relationships is oftentimes where many of the entitled mindset can present, particularly if you have a parent who feels entitled to your present because of, how they raised you, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? As if you asked to be here yourself. And this is a very sensitive topic and often one that's not talked about enough. How do we talk to children that feel guilty because of what they feel like they have to do for a parent, even though it's causing them pain now? See, these are not easy conversations, but they are necessary conversations. Because how does that person heal? They need these conversations. A lot of times they're so taboo that people don't like to talk about them because they can bring up a lot of emotion. But just because they're difficult conversations doesn't mean that they're not necessary conversations. And we have to have a way to have these conversations with sensitivity, with gravity, and also transparency and truth. So let me give you a couple of signs. How you might say, no, am I engaging with an entitled person? How do I know this? Number one, I'm going to give you the first one. If you're engaging with somebody that's entitled, they respond to your boundaries with offense, right? When you put up boundaries in your life, and many times people, when you put up boundaries, oftentimes you put up boundaries because you know what it takes to protect your peace, right? You know what it takes to protect your peace. And people that respond to your boundaries with offense feel that they are entitled to your personal space that you may not have invited them to. Because understand this. Here's a sad reality. I'm going to use this analogy. Just because you invited me to your house doesn't automatically mean that I'm going to feel comfortable inviting you to my house. I know that doesn't sound great, right? That sounds terrible. Right? What kind of a person am I? But let's just be honest. Just because somebody invites me, that doesn't mean that I'm automatically going to feel comfortable inviting them. Just because a person shares with you some personal details because they felt comfortable sharing those details with you, it doesn't automatically mean that you are going to feel comfortable sharing personal details with them. This is an entitled mentality, because you may have boundaries that say, you know what? Yeah, you felt comfortable sharing that with me. I don't feel comfortable sharing that with you. This is a boundary. Coming at me with entitlement is the fastest way to get a no when I may have otherwise said yes 100%. 100%. 100%. We already don't feel safe in their space. I can't. I'm telling you, listen. When people respond to boundaries with offense, they're not considering your peace. Instead of feeling entitled to that space, maybe ask the question, why am I not invited to that space? And here it is. It may have nothing to do with you. Newsflash, people. Sometimes a boundary doesn't have anything to do with you. You ever had, you've been in a certain place in life and you're there because of life. Life just be lifing out here, right? And then people will assume that your position, your boundaries, they'll say stuff like this: you doing too much. That is a presumptuous statement. You doing too much. Listen, you don't know what a person has experienced, even the people that you think you know. Right? This is entitlement. Here it is. Let's push a little further, right? So that's number one. They respond to your boundaries with offense. Number two, they treat your generosity like an invoice. What do I mean by that? There are people that will treat what you give like an expectation, right? So they expect you to always give, to always operate at this level. You're treating my generosity like an expectation. This is what I choose to do, not what I have to do. What's up, everybody? Thank you for coming in. Appreciate you. Listen, this is something that's particularly easy to do. I thought I did say hi to Amaya. Hi, Amaya. Appreciate you for coming on in. If I didn't say hi, I apologize. And Amelia, hello. You guys are funny. So listen up. What you give becomes what they expect. I'm expecting you to always be at this level. And should you do anything that changes that, now I'm upset. This becomes particularly true in relationships. Whether it's marriage, engagements, whatever. It becomes very particularly true in relationships. Listen, one of the things I learned in my years of marriage, I've been married to my lovely wife for going on 16 years. It'll be 16 years next July, right? I've come to truly appreciate what my wife chooses to do, right? To me, you never want to enter into a relationship. To me, the worst thing you can tell your spouse, your significant other, is this is what you have to do, right? That's craziness. Don't do that, people. If you're not in a relationship and you're looking to be in a relationship and you get into a relationship, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't put unnecessary expectations. Let a person give from their heart because they want to do it. It's so much better that way, right? It's so much more loving that way, right? Don't just put expectations on people. Be appreciative for what people choose to do. Right? It's not an invoice, not an expectation. It's love. Right? They treat your generosity like an invoice. Number 3, this is a good one, y'all. This is a good one. They want privileges without process. Entitled people want privileges without process. What does that mean? Thank you, Renita. I appreciate the gifts. Thank you all for all the gifts. Amelia, I seen the gift come through. Appreciate you all for the gifts so much. Privileges without process. Listen, you can't expect to get in close proximity without preparation. Position without preparation. You're not owed something, right? You want to be rewarded without putting in the work. No. And again, listen, you don't have to feel obligated to give a person access to reward somebody based upon something that you didn't receive, to give them a position without any type of preparation, because they want privileges without process. You should tell people in your life, you know what? That season is over. That season is over. It's like you've been following me for the last 46 years. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. This is a serious thing. And people, we're going to be freed from this. People are going to be healed from this, to walk completely and totally in who God has called you to be. Number 4, they get loud when they're losing control. And when I'm talking about loud, I'm not just talking about volume. But when they're losing control, when entitled people are losing control, they begin to escalate to resorting to other methods when the thing that used to work no longer works. Right? When the way they used to manipulate you no longer manipulates you, they will try and find new ways. The flame out. Right? They do things to try to, for lack of better words, bully you into submission. And here it is. Because some of us tend to want to keep the peace, right? You want to keep the peace. You don't like confrontation. Oftentimes you will back down. You'll give in. You'll give them what they want. And here it is, though. If you're not careful, you will be stuck in a dysfunctional cycle with this person until you choose to stop playing their game. And this is what they do. Number 5. And this is huge. Next week, I think we're gonna do a podcast on the victim mentality, which is gonna be like a companion to tonight's episode. Because, there are a lot of people who like to play the victim when they're not the victim. We'll talk about that later. But understand this. These people will rewrite history to stay the victim. See, this is one right here. Number 5. This is that one. You know that stuff that kind of gets you right in the feels? This is that one. They will rewrite an entire story to make sure that they stay the victim. right? This is key because you have to be careful with people like this. Because people like this will have you questioning your reality. People, they will have you know how some of us right here, right? You're stuck replaying an event over and over and over and over in your mind, right? That's a lot of us that happens with, right? You're ruminating on something that happened. And here's why. Because you know what you saw, you know what you heard, you know what you experienced. And individuals will rewrite the story, retell the story, in a way in which they will say it over and over and over again until you begin to question your reality. This is why you have to be careful on being on this cycle of dysfunction. Because eventually you'll start thinking you're crazy. And you will start accepting and believing things about yourself that are not even true. This is where it becomes dangerous. I'm not telling you to not own your mistakes. Yes, absolutely, 100%. You have to own your mistakes, own what you do, own what you say, all that stuff. But when you start to question your reality because of an individual that has rewritten history to continually make themselves the victim of the story, they do things like this. The second you put up a boundary, the second you demand accountability, the moment you call them out on something that they've done, they don't respond with accepting responsibility for their actions. Their response to you is to remind you of everything they've done for you. As if their past good deeds make up for their present abuse. This is something that is huge that abusers do. Abusers will take out their frustration and anger on a person, and when they get called out on their abuse, they'll say, "But do you remember when I bought you this?" And so that makes up for what you just put me through. And this is done again to shift the narrative in which now you begin to feel guilty for calling them out on their behavior. Right? When you choose to stop accepting the abuse, when you choose to grow, when you choose to mature, they'll tell you that you're acting brand new. No, I'm not acting brand new. I'm acting grown up. I'm not acting brand new. I'm acting like a grown man now. I'm acting like a grown woman now. Right? Oh, you've changed. Yes, I changed. I'm no longer allowing you to manipulate my mind. What's up? Springfield, Mass in the house. Oh, we got my peoples in the house. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Yeah. Appreciate y'all coming on in the room. I see you. Listen. I don't know if you want me to call your name out because I see you got a different name on your profile. So I'm just gonna call you Brother Depart Talo. But I appreciate you popping in the room. Listen, It's okay. Listen, when they say you acting brand new, it's okay for you to say, yeah, you know what? You're right. I am brand new. I'm no longer being manipulated by the lies. I'm no longer allowing you to control my mind. I'm no longer allowing you to use me for your agenda. That was very freeing for me. You know what was freeing for me? When I say, you know what? No, I'm not going to allow other people to use me for their agenda. Mm-mm. No. When I was a child, I understood as a child. I thought as a child. I spoke as a child. But when I became a man, listen, not just men, ladies, you can grab hold of that too. When I became a woman, I put away childish things. And again, this is huge in relationships. Don't let anybody manipulate your emotions and your feelings and guilt you. Relationships, church, jobs, you can apply these principles to any one of them. Okay, so let me just throw them back to you. Signs you're dealing with an entitled person: they respond to your boundaries with offense. They treat your generosity like an invoice. They want privileges without process. They get loud when they're losing control, and they rewrite history to stay the victim. Now, how do you engage? You ain't said nothing but a word. You ain't said nothing but a word. See, that's why he said I found out church was a business and leaders are cutthroat. That's why, to me, it's not just about joining a church. It's about being a part of an authentic body of believers. It's not just about going to a place where you are with church members. It's about, who am I in fellowship with? Who do I know? Who's my community? That's what's more important to me than the building. It's the actual relationships, right? So how do we engage, right? How do we engage? First one, your first rule of engagement. These are your rules of engagement, people. Your first rule of engagement: stay factual, not emotional. Now, that doesn't mean that your emotions won't be involved. You're going to get emotional. But when you deal with people, stay with the facts. People will try to get you into your feelings, right? People will try to trigger you, because entitled people feed on emotional reaction. I need you to grab hold of that. Entitled people feed on emotional reaction. So you got to stay factual. Even when you are getting upset, even when you feel that anger rising up in your chest, listen, you want to stay centered, you want to stay grounded, and you want to stay clear. That's why, for me personally, I try to put a lot of stuff in writing. Personally, right? I try to put professional therapy, a professional therapist. That's 100%. I try to put a lot of stuff in writing, because you know why? Because when people try to come back and say you didn't say that, pull up the email, pull up the text, right? I want this. This is the facts. This is what happened. Don't talk about anything else. These are the facts. Stay factual, not emotional. When you set up boundaries, guess what? Your boundaries do not have to be based upon an emotion. You don't put up a boundary just because you're mad at somebody. My boundaries are necessary to my peace. Not because you're trying to hurt somebody, not because you're trying to put somebody down. Not an emotional reaction, but it is a necessary reaction. Right? So here's how you do that when you stay factual, not emotional. Listen, when you tell people, they ask you, can you do this? Can you do that? And try to get you. This is how you respond. Here's what I am willing to do. Right? Not even here's what I can do. Here's what I'm willing to do. Well, are you willing? Nope. Here's what I am willing to do. I don't have to explain to you why this is all I'm willing to do. I'm telling you, here's what I'm willing to do. You can take it or you can leave it. And separate, again, guilt. Well, that's not really going to, I need more. Well, you know what? If you need more, that's on you. Here's what I'm willing to do. In the same vein, this is what you also can say. Here's what I am not doing. But I need this. Here's what I am not doing. Practice making these types of statements. This is my boundary. Right? And here it is. Once you say this, once you make the statement, right? You're staying factual, not emotional. That's number one. Once you make the statement, here's what I'm willing to do. Here's what I'm not willing to do. Right? Number two, do not explain your boundaries more than once. Right? This is not a negotiation. Right? As soon as you start over explaining, you have now entered into a negotiation. No, this is not a negotiation. So when they come back, I've already explained. I've already stated. I'm not changing. Listen, people, it sounds cold. I know for some people, how could you do that? And see, here it is. Church people, I'm going to go into church for real quick. Church people are notorious for trying to guilt you, right? You would say something like, here's what I'm willing to do. You know what they'll respond with? Well, what would Jesus do? Don't let church people try to use Jesus as a manipulation tactic to get you to do what they want you to do. I'm just going to put that out there because they'll do it. Here's what I'm not doing. Well, would Jesus say that? See, that's manipulation. I'm sorry. That is manipulation. When you're trying to use my faith as a bargaining tactic to get what you want, you're trying to use Jesus to manipulate me into getting what you want. This is what we're not doing. Right? And again, you have to be careful because some of us have heard things like this from church leaders. And I'm sorry that things like that has happened, but they have happened. No, here's what I can do. Well, you need to give till it hurts. Here's what I can do. Unless the Spirit of the Lord touches me and says, do this. Here's what God has. What does the scripture say? What a man purposed in his heart, so let him give. That's if you want to go biblical. What a man purposed. That is saying, here's what I'm willing to give. If this offering is not enough for you, then maybe I'll just keep my money. Hey, it is what it is. And I'm not justifying or explaining to anybody. That's what it is. Number 3, hold consistent consequences, right? People need to know if they cross this line, this is what's going to happen. And people who really want to be in relationship with you will adjust your behavior, will adjust their behavior to meet your boundaries. They need to know. You know what? No, if you do this, this is not okay. We talked earlier about, parent and children relationships, particularly when you have, grown children and older parents. When you are an adult with an older parent, sometimes you have to remind that older parent, listen, I am your child, but I am not a child. You don't have to be disrespectful when you say it, but it is okay. If you have your own life now, you have your own responsibilities now, and you cannot do something, and your parent tries to guilt you into doing it. Listen, I am your child, but I am not a child. If you need me to do something for you, this is how you need to do it. I am willing to pick you up and take you to the store. You need to let me know beforehand whether or not you need to go so I can build this into my schedule. Do not try to guilt me. Do not try to, manipulate me into feeling like I should do more. This is what I can do. You have to be honest about your capacity. What is my capacity? And I'm not going to feel guilty about living within my capacity. Listen, this is not revenge. It's reality. You're not doing it to get back at somebody. You're living in your reality. Listen, number 4, you have to detach from their reactions. This is a good one, y'all. This is a good one. You have to detach from their reactions. Can I help somebody out? Listen carefully. Their anger is not your emergency. If they mad, let them be mad. They're just going to be mad. Their disappointment is not your responsibility. Their inconvenience is not your calling. You don't have to be their savior. You ever heard that song, Call Jesus, but Don't Call Me? Sometimes you got to let people learn how to pray and get themselves through. I'm detached from the reaction. You can get mad. You can get angry. You can get loud. You can throw a tantrum. Praying for you. Number 5, you have to give responsibility back to them. Stop carrying other people's baggage and problems. Stop carrying their load. Listen, when they show up and tell you, this is happening, this happened, and that's happening, and they're expecting you to fix it, you know what you're going to say? What's your plan to address that? What if they're mad because you are mad at them? Well, if you are upset with them for a justifiable reason, which you don't have to justify the reason if you're upset, and they're just upset because you're upset, I mean, personally, that kind of sounds like, again, manipulative type behavior. So I'm mad at you because you're mad at me. To me personally, if somebody's upset with me for something, and either if I know I did something to make them upset, I'm going to try to address what I did. And if I don't know what I did, I'm going to ask them, is there something I did to make you upset? If they refuse to tell me, then at that point, to me personally, if you're upset and you're not telling me why, and I really don't know, I'm going to probably move on in peace. I have a justified reason, but I react poorly too. I mean, that's real. I appreciate your honesty. So I think sometimes we can. I'll use myself for an example. I've been in that place. I had a justifiable reason, but my reaction still wasn't the greatest. I can apologize. Listen, I shouldn't have reacted this way. However, I do want to talk about the reason why I was upset. Right? I know, being married, this happens quite often in a marriage. Hey, you know what? I kind of snapped, was a little, short with you, whatever. I shouldn't have said that. However, here's the reason why I was short. Can we talk about this? It's probably because I have two things going. Sorry if my mic is giving off the feedback. I'll try to back this up a little bit. Hopefully that helps. So listen, this is why when you give responsibility back to a person, when you stop carrying things for them, you ask them questions like, what is your plan to address that? How would you like to solve that? Right? Not how can I fix this for you? Right? Honestly, as a teacher, these are things that I say with students. What are you going to do to address this situation? I know I personally need to stop over identifying with others' pain. I can't live it, but there is a healthy limit to where my empathy should reach. Absolutely. It is good to be empathetic and to identify with people. The limit is us feeling like we have to be responsible for removing that pain. Right? I can identify with somebody and say, you know what? I am empathizing with you. I'm understanding where you're coming from. However, you need to walk through that. See, here it is, people. And that's a great statement, India. Here it is. It's okay to feel for somebody and also say, I need to separate myself from that person. That can be hard. You can love somebody and care about somebody and also know that it's toxic to be around that person. Two things can be true at the same time. Listen, if I'm in a place to where I need to heal myself, I can't try to help you heal and I'm broke. I can't deal with my pain and your pain. And that takes a level of maturity also to say, listen, I'm sorry. I can't be there with you at this moment. That takes a level of maturity too. And people that truly love you will respect that. So number 6, we're almost there. Don't try to teach entitlement out of somebody who's not ready to grow. A person has to be ready to grow. Why? You can model health. Right? You can model healthy behavior, but you cannot force maturity. You can't do it. Sometimes people will only grow when they finally run into themselves. They have to face themselves. And sometimes you being in a way can prevent them from facing themselves. Understand this. Grace empowers responsibility. It doesn't replace it. Grace empowers responsibility. It doesn't replace it. I'm giving you grace so you can be responsible, just like God gave grace to us so that we could be responsible. So here it is, closing out. Entitlement can be loud, but your boundaries can be louder. I want you to understand this. You don't have to argue. You don't have to over explain. And you do not have to feel guilty for protecting your peace. Let me say that again. You don't have to argue. Sometimes you just need to step back. Sometimes you just need to step back. You don't have to argue. You don't have to fight. Sometimes you got to say, you know what? I'm not even engaging in that. You don't have to over explain. Right? You're constantly justifying, constantly trying to tell somebody why. No, stop. Stop it. Stop it. Stop doing it. And you do not have to feel guilty for protecting your peace. I'm telling you right now, I'm at the ripe age where my peace is probably one of, if not the most important. If you're bringing dysfunction, and I'm not talking about I'm throwing people away. That's not what I mean by that. We all go through stuff, right? I'm not talking about that. But if you're a person where you're not trying to seek peace, right? Yeah, we all got some issues, but if you're not trying to see, you know what, you just like drama, and you like being contentious, and you like stirring up stuff. Listen, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Because I need to have my peace. And you do not have to feel guilty for protecting your peace. You don't. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to engage with wisdom. You're going to engage with wisdom. How are you going to do that? First and foremost, you're going to do that by knowing yourself and knowing what your capacity is, and not letting someone try to guilt you for giving in your capacity to give. Right? If you say, this is what I can do, and they tell you, well, you can do more. No. This is what I can do. This is how much I can give. Well, you can give more. No. This is what I can give. If that's not good enough for you, then I will keep what I have. And that is okay. You're going to engage with wisdom. You're going to respond with clarity. And you are going to stand with confidence. Because you are becoming unapologetically you. You're not justifying you. You're not apologizing for you. You're not arguing about you. You are being who God called you to be. So the last thing I want you to remember, lean in very close, everybody. Lean in very close. Your no is not disrespect. It's discipline. Your no is not disrespect, it's discipline. And just like Renita said earlier in the podcast, no is a complete sentence. You know what I want some of you to practice doing? saying no without feeling like you have to have a reason to say no. I know does that sound bad? Does that sound like, how can a pastor say something like that? Does that sound bad? Listen, no. Say no without feeling like you have to have a reason to say no. You just said no because the answer is no. Can you do this? No. Can you get this? No. And I'm not telling you to do this to be mean. I'm telling this to do this to be free. Whew, I felt that in my spirit. I'm not doing it to be mean. I'm doing it to be free. No. That's my sister on there, Queen Candace. She says she has a hard time with that. I get it. Big sis, I get it. But you know what? Just like yes is an answer, no is too. And sometimes we have to retrain our just like, we talk about muscle memory. Your brain is a muscle. Train that muscle to say no. All right, everybody. I appreciate you joining us tonight on the Victory U podcast. Appreciate everybody hanging out. We talked about engaging with entitled people. And I believe that somebody's being free from the mentality of feeling like you have to justify yourself to meet other people's expectations and their manipulations. You've been living not completely free to be who you are, and feeling like as if you doing that would be a betrayal to your faith. But it's not. God called you to be you. He created you to be you. So be the you that he created you to be unapologetically. As always, again, thank you for joining us on the Victory U podcast. I'm signing off, Dr. David, reminding you to think critically, live faithfully, and impact culture. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to the Victory U podcast. Join us every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. on YouTube and TikTok Live. Each episode drops the next day on all major podcast platforms, so you never miss a moment. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment in the chat. We would love to hear from you.